Good evening, everybody. Matrix here, and here's my watch list for May 24th. Okay, bring in the futures right now. We are gapping up ever so slightly, actually gapping up 9 points on the futures. So that equates to about 90 cents on the SPY. Let's take a look at what happened today. It gapped down and then sold off. And then at the end of the late day, the SPY kind of squeezed out, and right now it's gapping up, and it looks like the futures is still squeezing. Okay, with that said, let's bring in the real chart here, SPY chart. Currently, the price is at, let's go to intraday real quick. So we closed at the 282.15 area, and we're gapping up about 90 cents. So we are currently at prior this morning's highs and pre-market lows. Okay, so this is a very key level that we're sitting at right now, the 283. Let me zoom out a little bit on the intraday chart. As you can see, it played very well on this day on May 20th. Okay, it's key level in a sense that it's key for the past maybe 5-6 days, right? However, I mean, if I'm going to go into the daily chart right now, and it's coming into this lower end of this doji day on May 20th. Tomorrow, the direction is because it has gapped down so much this morning, and now that it looks like it's coming back up and it's getting bought back up in the after hours, I do anticipate, first of all, a lower volume tomorrow. Second of all, perhaps a little fill of this gap that we had this morning, as dictated by the after hours action here and the late day action. So a gap fill would bring it up to the 284 is one level you can watch. And then the maximum I would say is around the 285 to 285.30s area, which is the 50 EMA on the daily chart. And the 285 is first of all, is a psychological whole number. Second of all, it's also a very key prime level to watch. Okay, so I am expecting a gap fill tomorrow. Really depends what it does in the morning around this 283, right? If it opens above and stays above 283, we should get a gap fill up. However, if it opens below, or if it just dumps at the open and snaps 283 and under 283, then we could come right back down to test the to test the opening price of today right here at around the 282. And if the 282 snaps, we could come right back down as well. So I personally like for tomorrow the probability of it filling the gap a little bit. Okay, but I do anticipate the grind up will be pretty painful in a sense, because of a retracement usually have lower volume. Coming over here, this 284.30 is actually pretty key here, 284.40 area. So as you can see, basically if I connect these areas right here, this is the 284.40s, and it works out to this doji area as well. So definitely an interim level that we could be watching, the 284.30s to 40s area. Okay, so that's the SPY. Aside from that, let's get into the watch list. Now, I guess the first one I want to talk about is ROKU, because ROKU lately, if you look at this daily chart, it's a monster. Okay, it's basically after its earnings, it has been running nonstop. And what I've noticed is perhaps this run up, these bars, these daily bars, they're not real buying. Perhaps they could be just short squeezes, because ROKU tends to attract a lot of shorts watching the stock overall, because it can run so much. Now, I'm pretty sure the shorts are eyeing this down right now for tomorrow. But one thing I do notice is, I mean, if I bring in the SPY again on the daily chart, okay, when the SPY dumps, ROKU doesn't dump. It holds relatively strong and makes a doji day. So for example, yesterday when SPY tried to dump and sell off, this was a seller's candle and it made a doji day. Roku made a doji day but held against its highs, right? The prior day before, we had SPY running, and obviously Roku, look at this, it ran as well and broke out of a key level. And then for example, this day on the 13th, which is right here, when the SPY gapped down and sold off, Roku sold off as well. So very SPY dependent on the relative strength of Roku tomorrow. Now, with that said, if SPY is coming up after hours, it really makes sense to me that Roku is also coming up after hours, and it closed really strong above the 90 area. However, this after hours volume is kind of light. And to me, these are squeezes, right? With the stock running so much, it actually does need a few days to consolidate around these highs and perhaps pull back a little bit before the next real run when buyers do actually come in. With that said in mind, every day that when I'm watching Roku, I'm definitely paying attention to the news feed first thing in the morning to see if there are analysts coming out with upgrades and downgrades, the infamous Citron research, if they come out with like a hit piece or any other bearish hedge funds out there coming out with a hit piece, because all it takes is one key catalyst of a hit piece or an upgrade to make the stock move even more, okay? A hit piece would probably cause it to dump hard, kind of like looking back into the prior earnings here. This is the prior earnings run up. And then I believe here was the hit piece happened on an analyst. I believe it was Jeffries. They came out with like a downgrade and hit them hard. So definitely going to be watching the news on a daily basis in the morning to further, how do you say, solidify the thesis of Roku. Now, with that said, let's load up some drawings real quick over here. Load drawings, Roku. Now, with that said, because the SPY is gapping up after hours, I am looking for a little pop in the morning pre-market. Okay, I am expecting a little gap up for the way it closed so strong. And then at the open or pre-market, it sells off a little bit and finds some sort of support. And if the SPY can hold support and start running again, Roku will start running again as well. With that said, some key support levels that I'll be watching. These levels were marked off on Monday, I believe. No, on Tuesday. Okay, and it worked pretty well. I mean, you can see the support line bounce right off it, right? And then we had a running day. Today, this support line bounced off real well, and we had a nice run up on it. Now, tomorrow, I'm looking at the key support of, first of all, $88 is very key according to the daily chart. So I'm going to mark that off here, and I'm going to show you 88 bucks is right here on yesterday's doji day. Let me see the close of yesterday's doji. Okay, so 88.02, as you can see right there on the left hand corner of the closing of the daily chart, 88.02. So this closing level is very important in my opinion. As long as it can hold this closing level, then it should still remain a bullish thesis here. If it doesn't come down that far though, the next level of support I'll be watching, because we are anticipating a gap up tomorrow. The next level I'll be watching is perhaps a massive gap up, and I'm looking at this candle with massive volume, the morning push, the morning high, right? This was a significant level that it wasn't able to get over the whole day, the whole morning. And then eventually late day, it squeezed above, and after hours, it held over. So this is a prime level to watch. It's 89.75 area, right? So give or take the $90 area, so about 25 cents of wiggle room from there. This here is a support zone in my opinion. So I'll be watching this area first as support. And if that snaps, I'll wait at each whole dollar mark. I'll wait. So I'll be waiting at 89 for a bouncing type of action, like a higher low or double bottom or capitulation or something like that. And then if 89 does not hold, then it comes down to 88. With this 50 EMA here on the 30-minute chart, I mean, it has been tagging it with massive volume. So right here at the open, massive volume, 50 EMA, right? And then today, again, tagging it with massive volume pop, 50 EMA. This was a little bit overextended, hence the pullback. So tomorrow, pop, after hours, pull back, and then we'll see what it does around this area over here. That's ROKU. Next up, we have Luckin Coffee, which I didn't trade today. Yesterday was fantastic on Luckin Coffee. I made a trade recap on it. I wrote it from 17 literally all the way down to the 1470, but by the time I was here, I was actually driving on the road to visit a friend, and by the time I got to her place, the stock was already up here, and I covered up once it got to about 1557. I covered up over here. Eventually, late day, it dumped, and today it gapped down and held some sort of a high here around the 15 areas, and it stopped selling off. However, if you're looking on the daily chart on the volume here, it's not really high volume per se. So today is considered more of a retracement day. And then we have the late day where it's squeezed along with the SPY and everything. So this is very interesting to me. What this means is that there is a change in pattern perhaps, okay? However, we are very overextended to the downside right here. And I believe this trend line still plays. Now we have broken out of the downtrend. I want to load up some drawings first, actually. Okay, so this might look a little bit messy right here. A lot of areas coming into the 30-minute chart. We have this purple line. The 1450 was today's pre-market highs. As you can see, once it broke out the pre-market highs, it just basically ran from there, right? Once it broke out and held, and then when it came back down in the afternoon, it literally held this 1450 area again, and then finally we have a breakout of 15 and a squeeze as well. Now the key area I want to watch tomorrow is this 1525 area or 1520 area, okay? It's basically the morning high of today, and yesterday we had, it was kind of like the morning low where it bounced off and it reclaimed and failed again. So this 1520 area is very key in my opinion, depending on whether it can stay above it or below it tomorrow. So that's what I want to watch, because we do have a change in its characteristics here of the downtrend. Perhaps we are going to get some transitional sideways stays tomorrow, and then we don't know whether it can keep running or selling. Okay, with that said, just for today, we are on a slight uptrend, and if I draw this chart along, this trend line along, as you can see, it tags the 1520 very well. So really dependent on whether this 1520 is, the stock is trading above or below it. Okay, if it holds the 1520s to $15 area, I do like it for long, as this reminded me of Uber. So let's go to Uber real quick, and then I'll go back to Luckin of this massive sell-off day. And then we had the next day, it gapped up, came down, made a higher low, and then it started running for a few days. Okay, so let's get back to Luckin and load back up. Okay, so with that said, if it holds above the 15 area, 1520, 15 area, long it. $16 mark, very, very key, because we do have the 50 EMA coming down on it right now on the 30-minute chart. It's also a key area from yesterday where it had major volume, right here on this bar, as you can see on the volume here at 10:30, and then it snapped through. Now prior support now becomes resistance. Tomorrow, will it be able to get above 16? I don't know, but if it does, I can be willing to bet that there is going to be some squeezing action happening over here. So let's watch the 16 for either a break or top out from there. Okay, but definitely I do like to watch, first of all, the 1520s area. If it stays under the 15, we could be coming back down to test this 1450 and then coming back down to test this 14 area as well. As you can see, I marked off the lows of today as major support. The 1475 was also major support. It was yesterday's lows, now reclaimed, so hence major support. And gonna watch out for these areas over here. Next up, we have Uber. Uber, very interesting day. I traded a little bit of it late day over here. Let's load up some drawings. And what I want to talk about is basically this. On the intraday chart, as you can see, it made a base here at the $40.50 for a long while before it snapped, reclaimed, and came back down. Now, this candle is very evident of like a cover pop and a drop, right? It's the same type of candle we saw on Luckin Coffee a couple of days ago. That's how I made my thesis to short Luckin Coffee. Let's go back to Uber. Let's take a look at this candle in the 1 minute time frame. Okay, so once it came down under this major support area and we had a cover pop coming in, the time that it took for it to sell back off and under it, okay, makes me think that the big boys are still selling the stock from over here, the major daily support breakdown play that I traded on Tuesday, I believe, right? And I think the short thesis is still in right now, even though after or late day it came back up a little bit and squeezed out. And now I do think, and here again we see this major support snap. This is actually where I played it. Okay, I played it right in this area where we had a major support snap. So I shorted it right here, and I was risking this support area, prior support area. And as it came down, it wasn't able to hit the 40 area, which is a key psychological whole number and a level as well that I've marked off right here on the 30-minute chart. It wasn't able to snap the 40. So basically I paid myself a lot here. It lingered a long while, and then I got out, and then it squeezed back up. So definitely two ways to play. Looking at this chart right now, I guess the plan would still be the 41, 41.25 areas. As it gapped down today, it came back up to this 41 that we know is very key from a prior day before. You know this zone is very key. So what I want to see, since it is gapping up after hours, I do want to see it pop at the open right back into this resistance area. And I'm going to keep that thesis on the short, on this multi-day breakdown from multi-day support breakdown from Tuesday, and try to short it right back down. Now, one thing I want to mention is they announced today that they will be announcing earnings after market close on May 30th. Okay. Now, with that said, we're 7 days away from the announcement of their first quarter earnings. A lot of long-term investors usually like to buy into earnings a week in advance, right? So with this little squeeze up here, some could say that it is making, it could be making a higher low. So when I am shorting this tomorrow and it refused to break this 40.50 again, I'm going to get out, because that would cause the long-term investors to think that it's a higher low, and a higher low from today's low, and they would try to buy it. So yeah, we do have about 50 cents. I really like this resistance zone though. So as you can see, for the past couple of days, it held the stock down prior major multi-day support, right? If it does break out, I mean, then get the hell out, right? There's not much risk to it. Yeah, so 25-cent wiggle room. Ideally, I want to get as close to the highs as near as this 25s as possible, and then short it right back down and bring it down to the 40-50 at the very least. So that's my plan on Roku. Sorry, on Uber. And then we have AMBA. This is actually going to be one of my main watch tomorrow. The stock doesn't trade a lot of volume. However, it trades really clean for the past few days. This major gap down yesterday was from the US saying that they're banning a company called Hike Vision. Okay, Hike Vision is a security camera company in China, and they make up a lot of revenue for AMBA. AMBA is a semiconductor company that makes chips for computer chips for cameras and stuff like that. One of their major clients used to be GoPro, but GoPro camera demand started falling out, so they kind of cut them out, and now this Hike Vision company from China, they buy a lot of the AMBA chips. But now that US has banned Hike Vision, this in turn means that they are losing a lot of revenue. Now, after reading the news on it, and the security camera sector, like the product in itself, that product actually have one of the lowest margins for AMBA. So losing Hike Vision does have some sort of an advantage in a sense where it's low margins anyway. So with or without Hike Vision, they won't be losing that much money. But on the flip side, they are losing revenue. It's a source of income for them. And with that said, overall, their margins have and their revenues have been decreasing on a quarterly basis as well. Looking at the stock, as you can see, it's very overvalued. One of their main competitors is Intel. Okay. With that said, I do like a more bearish stance on the stock, right? We had a major gap down since the ban news, and then the stock, because it gapped down so much, it tried to come back up with major volume. Okay, it tried to fill the gap. Long-term investors saw that it was an overreaction, and then today, when the overall market gapped down, basically that was basically a sign of these investors bailing out and panicking out. Now, as you can see, let's load up some drawings here real quick. AMBA has a long ways down to go. If I'm just looking on this chart on the long-term basis, one key area I want to note is the 37 mark. So I want to mark that off real quick right here on the daily chart. And it's basically the low of today, a little bit the low of today. And yesterday, pre-market, it was the low at 37. And if I draw 37 across the whole daily chart long term, you see there was support here, resistance here, okay? And also the first day of the year is the top was at 37. Zooming out a little bit more, 37 played a major role here in last year, early December, and then it played a resistance mark here, support in August, and support in September as well. So that's to say, basically 37, very, very key support for the stock. With that said, after it came down and reclaimed the 37, I think tomorrow, first of all, I think we could get a little bit more of a retracement day tomorrow is what I'm looking at, because essentially this is a higher low from today's low, right? Late day, we no longer sold off and bounced off to 37. Okay, so we might see some short sellers exiting tomorrow and locking in profits, knowing that 37 was very, very key. I do want to see a dip tomorrow at the open to hold the 37 again, or hold this today's lows 3680s again, and then like a double bottom or a higher low from today's close, and then run it back up for retracement day. And my target would be the 3815 area, which is yesterday's morning lows. Okay, as you can see, this is a prime area where the stock bounced off twice yesterday with volume, I might add. Okay, so this long target 3815 is my first target if it does make a higher low from here, from today's low. Okay, so 37 long, back up for retracement day from 38, looking for a rejection or looking for a lot of resistance to hold the stock down. Now what 38 is, I believe, is yesterday's lows. It's 38.15, yeah. Okay, so I'm looking for this area to hold it down and then ride it back down. So the plan's very simple: long, short, within this range. If 38.15 breaks out, right, it can test 38.50 next as an interim resistance from yesterday, and then finally 38.80s over here as it's today's opening price. Okay, and also yesterday's gap opening price, and then it kind of bounced off this 38.80s as well. So yeah, that's basically the plan. Looking at this higher low after hours higher low or near closing higher low type of setup. Once again, this reminds me of Uber again, right? So if it does gap up tomorrow, looking for a dip to hold and then long it back up again. Okay, so it does remind me of the same setup that we remember from Uber on day 3 of its IPO day. We had the same setup over here. Okay, so that's Umbrella. And then finally, we have ROST, ROST stores. Interestingly enough, ROST stores, I was checking on NASDAQ.com, looking at its prior 4 quarters of earnings. Okay, all of them have beat consensus by like anywhere ranging from 1 cent per share to 10 cents per share. But interestingly enough, every time they do beat, they have something like this: they gap up and then they sell off, and then the next few days sell off again. Today, when they announced earnings, they actually announced a loss of their consensus. They came up with bad guidance. So the guidance, let me bring in the news here. It's Q2 guidance. It's 1.06 to 1.11 earnings per share. Okay, and their consensus was 1.14. So finally, an earnings quarter where they actually do not beat consensus. Okay, and we see this major sell-off at the after hours earnings report. Now, with this said, ROST has an average true range of $2. Okay, so basically you can see that it made its average true range already after hours from 94.50, sold off all the way to 92.50. Right, it bounced back up. This is 2 ATRs. It bounced back up and it topped out around the 92.50. Right. So what I want to see, this is going to be on side watch. I wonder if I load up, put any drawings on here. No, I didn't put any drawings on here. So it's going to be on a side watch for me. I do like the bear thesis on this ticker. 92.50, very interesting for me. Okay, although we don't have massive volume, we are trading gapping down right about here at 91.40 area. So let's mark that off. Oh, perfect. Okay, so I'm going to mark that off on the daily chart in blue just to show us where we are. So we have a major gap down right now I am looking for a little gap fill. It really depends if it can reclaim this 92.50, 92 area. And if it does and stays above this 92 area, very in depth here, I am expecting the stock to come back up and at least get back up to fill the gap here. 92.50 is actually the gap, and we're trading right here. So I am expecting it to fill the gap, maybe pop up a little over the gap and hit this 200 SMA here at $93 from the daily chart, and then fail from there. So it's 93. There's a 200 SMA. So as it comes back up, looking for rejection at 93 because I am leaning more towards the bear side because the stock did not beat consensus on the guidance. With that said, some major support levels here. We have, because the stock is on a $2 ATR, we have 92 and let's mark off 92 and $90 level. So we have the 92 level and the $90 level. Scrolling back a little bit, you can see how the 92 worked actually very well in the beginning of the year, right? Assuming, so it topped out 92, broke out, held, and then broke out 92, failed, topped out, and then broke out 92 again. So this 92, very, very key level here to watch. If it does fail and if I am shorting, I mean, the $90 area would be my target. First target, $90 area. Look at this day on January 7th. It's the high of this candle. It's a psychological whole number. So I do like this target area first on 90. And then if that snaps, we could get 89 and then 88. Okay, so that's ROST. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 tickers for you guys tonight, including the SPY. Tomorrow morning, we do have Foot Locker coming out with their earnings tomorrow. I do like trading Foot Locker because it has an average shoe range of $1.68. And the spread should be pretty tight on that ticker. It has nice range, so I'll be watching out for that tomorrow, waking up bright and early. Make sure you hit the like button and subscribe. I know that my watch list sometimes could get a little lengthy, and that's because I do explain it in detail, my whole plan and the why behind it. I believe that's very important for people to learn, for myself as well. Without knowing the why, without some sort of a catalyst, I feel that I'm very directionless, and just taking the patterns in itself, I tend to get chopped up. I would see a double bottom, I would long it, and then it fails somewhere, and then I see some more noise of like a double top or a lower high. I would short it, but then it would be in the middle of the range and everything. That's why I need a catalyst to make these plans work. Personally, it gives me more of a sort of a direction, in my opinion. That way, I don't get chopped out of the market. I have a focused mind going into the day. With that said, I'll see you guys all bright and early tomorrow. Thank you for watching and have a great evening. Ciao.